Trojan fans, welcome to another edition of the Peristyle Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Abraham, joined alongside the coach, Harvey Hyde. We've been doing the show together for, I don't know how many years. Since 2008, we're starting 2026 off with a lot of topics to get to around USC football. Of course, disappointing loss in the Alamo Bowl. We got to talk about USC's search for defensive coordinator, and the NCAA Transfer Portal is wide open. There's been some departures. There's been some entries. We're going to talk all about USC adding some players, losing some players, all of that with the coach, Harvey Hyde. If you have questions or comments, podcast at uscfootball.com is your email address, or you can call or text us at 424-254-9141. If you have Apple or Spotify, we love when you listen to the show. Leave us a 5-star rating over there. It definitely helps. Talk about the Peristyle Podcast. Tell your friends. Let them know, hey, you want to learn about USC football several times a week, you can do that over at the Peristyle Podcast. And we can do it with the coach. Coach, how you doing today, sir?
Man, I tell you what, I'm recovering. I'm starting to recover from a vacation period of the holidays, the bowl games, New Year's, the excitement of college football, the excitement of everything that's been going on, all the different events and so on we've been able to attend or watch. And it's been a great holiday season. Now I got to try to get back to normal if I can. Sort of dragging a little bit today. I think a lot of people out there might be dragging a little bit because of the holidays. And not because I drank, but just because it's time to get back on a normal schedule. That schedule when you get up and you say, what day is it? I'm not quite sure what day it was, the way it hit on Thursday and so on. But we're back on it. We have a lot of topics to talk about, as you mentioned. We got the Notre Dame situation. We haven't discussed that as far as the dropping of the game. We've got the bowl game to talk about as far as the performance in the bowl game. We've got, as you mentioned, the portal, recruiting. We've got D'Anton Lynn leaving, and amazing how he left just the night before, the day before the game. So I don't know where you want to start unless you want me just to start blabbing off and tell you what I saw, and then we can go from there.
Well, we did talk about the Notre Dame game in our last show. We talked about USC dropping that, so that was a pretty big topic, yeah. But we can touch on it some more again. But we'll probably start with the Alamo Bowl. I want to let everyone know, though, so I got my – I don't know what you thought, Coach, but I had USC covering the 6.5-point spread, the Alamo Bowl. That did not work out well. Of course, USC loses in overtime. But if you want to get it on the action over at MyBookie, you can do that. They've been our friends. December, it can be a really expensive month. You got to dig out of the hole that you maybe from all the holiday shopping or some of the betting. So you can do that over at MyBookie. They have all kinds of stuff over there. Bets and gets, profit boost, free spins. Go check it out. They have if you can work into the casino, if you want to play a little blackjack, things like that. So if you go to MyBookie now and use the promo code Peristyle. That's for Peristyle Podcast. Promo code Peristyle. Your first bet is covered up to $500. It's a great way to dig out of a hole that you had in December. If you go big and miss, you get it back with the bet back bonus token. That's a hard one to say, sorry. And you can run it right back. So remember, you can bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only at MyBookie. And Coach, yeah, it was a disappointing bowl game for USC. I thought they played well the last couple bowl games, and even with a lot of players opted out, we learned at the last minute D'Anton Lynn wasn't going to call the plays. That was a weird one. I don't know where you want to start with it, Coach, but yeah, the Alamo Bowl was a tough one for USC fans. A chance to win double-digit games, 10 games, and it didn't happen.
Well, let's start by saying this. I know everybody watched the same games I watched, okay? I know you all watched the Sugar, the Rose, all the different bowl games that went on, and you watch great teams play, and you look and you say, how did they get there? And you watch the coaches work the sideline or work the team and do all the coaching. Now, first of all, when I saw the 4 playoff teams play, or let's go back to the beginning of the playoffs completely, I saw a different type of football program or a different type of scenario of how you coach football. I mean, if you take a look at the sidelines, the defense, the way the head coaches are involved, not just in the offensive side of the football, but bench discipline, the officiating, every phase, timeouts. They've got their headset on. They're like a general in a battle. And then they've got their other generals that are doing the offensive, defensive coordinator and special teams. If you watch the way Dan Lanning works. He's working up and down the sideline, talking to everybody, encouraging kids, encouraging his coachings, working the officials, whatever. If you watch Kirk Greddy work, I mean, he's got a stare and a concentration that's unbelievable as far as the way he runs the game. Completely in control of the game the entire way. It's almost like you're afraid to make a mistake, and then there's no celebration between plays. It's back, get in the huddle, and let's take off. If you watch the way Mario Cristobal runs his team, he stands there with his headsets on. He's watching the entire game. He's working with the officials. He's working with the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator. He knows exactly what's going to happen. If you watch the new head coach in Mississippi, you watch Pete Goldman. He's involved. He's calling the defense, but he's still working the entire field as a head football coach in his first head coaching or second head coaching position. He's beating the number 3 team in the country in Georgia. And if you watch Georgia and you watch Kirby Smart, he's coaching the offensive side, the defensive side. He's got his visor on, and he's running the show. So, I mean, and I'm not going to go through them all, but if you watch the way the head coaches work in these teams that are into these positions, and then you have a chance to watch exactly the way USC's head coach works, and that's his philosophy. He has the right to work any way he wants. But to me, it's a different type of structure as far as the relationships on how you run a football program and how you don't, and how do you get to the level of elite. Now, I don't know if they had a chance to watch the games as a team or a staff, but I think it's very important that you examine what it takes to win and how you get to that winning type of position. And I think that you've heard me talk about this over and over and over as far as the way you run a program is you run a program with discipline. Kids love discipline, but yet you have to be, don't allow kindness to be weakness. I think that's something you have to have and understand that these are still 18-year-old kids, but you've got to have control of them. You've got to put them in a position where they can be successful, and you got to be able to win football games. As far as the bowl game itself, I was very disappointed with the performance of USC in that football game, and as you thought, I thought USC should dominate this football game and win this football game, because I thought they indicated to me, I didn't go to any practice, but they indicated to me they worked hard, they got their kids ready to go, they gave their kids a lot of reps, and I think that they were trying to signal to us and tell us this is the start of the 2026 season. As I mentioned, I would use it as that type of game. And I think they just couldn't maintain the type of intensity or concentration or whatever it takes to get that done. Again, they can't win a close football game. Again, it comes down to the red zone, where you kick 4 field goals in the red zone, and the field goal kicker breaks a record, I think, of the number of field goals that are kicked at USC. Just put the stat to the red zone and figure out why they're losing. You've heard me talk about so many times being prepared as the field closes down that you have what you call goal line offense, short line offense, short yardage lineup and yardage, where you specifically have where you go into center, 1st and 2 on the 2-yard line, and you don't score. Now you have a 6'4", 6'5" quarterback, 230 pounds. You put him under center, and you do the bush push. Okay, try it. Or you run an option to the outside where he has a run-pass option or a bootleg keep or something where this big kid can get into the end zone. But no, that doesn't happen. You're passing the ball. You're doing this. You're showing softness instead of toughness. When you get down there, you got to be tough. You got to get in the end zone. It's the difference of winning and losing, and it would have made the difference in this game. After the game, in the press conference and so on, instead of saying we didn't have this guy, we didn't have our linebackers, our great linebacker, which I thought the great linebackers didn't play good the entire year. It's we didn't have all these great players. Well, okay. Why make excuses? Why not be honest and tell the people we didn't play well, we didn't score in the red zone. We've got a lot of young players that had an opportunity to play. They didn't play up to their ability. I got out-coached. I wasn't prepared. When you heard Kirby Smart in his press conference, I don't know if you heard it or not, but he congratulated Pete Goldman, said, we got out-coached. I got out-coached, the head football coach. We got outplayed. That means my assistants got out-coached. Congratulations to the University of Mississippi. They came prepared and they beat us. Why can't you be positive as far as how can you tell the media that the kids you played with were scout team players, they wouldn't normally be on your roster? I mean, how are you treating your team players? How are you treating them? What do they think when you call them that? I mean, these kids went out, and believe me, I thought they played hard, okay? But they tried to do the best they could, and yet did they get the same type of results from their coaching staff? And then when you go back to the coaching type of situation, we'll talk about that as far as losing their defensive coordinator. How can that happen at USC when you have a coach the day before be at a press conference and the next day be on a plane or whatever, going out of town, and someone else calling the defenses? How can that happen? What really happened in that type of situation?
Wow, Coach. Okay. There was a lot there to unpack. A lot. Well, I get it. I get there was and the game happened a while ago now, so we don't need to belabor too much. But yeah, it was a disappointing performance. It just seemed like it was reverting back to sort of some of the old. You feel like they got better at things, and then they sort of kind of went back to that. And the lack of toughness was there. Certainly, a lot of players weren't on the team, but I agree with you. There's no excuses. The defensive coordinator thing was weird because D'Anton Lynn addressed the media 2 days before the game, and then we heard the day of the game that he wasn't going to be calling the plays. Like, what does that do to a team when your defensive play caller, who everyone pretty much assumed was going to be leaving for Penn State, and then something happened behind the scenes? We don't know exactly what yet, and he's not there. But what kind of impact can that have? They had Eric Henderson, Coach Henne step in and call the defense. They got a couple 3-and-outs to start, and then gave up a bunch of touchdown drives. But what does that do, Coach, when you lose your defensive coordinator like that? Pretty much right before the game.
Well, it causes doubt. Okay, it causes doubt within your coaching staff. Everybody's wondering what's going to happen, what really did happen, who's talking to the defense before the game, and are you going to explain to them what happened? And of course, Henderson in his first defensive coordinator position is nervous. You can't help but be. You want to do the right things for these kids and so on. And at the same time, as the defensive staff, and don't tell me you don't think about this, you're thinking about what's going to happen to me. What's going to happen to my family? Is the new defensive coordinator going to keep us? What is the rumors? What's going on? What really happened? Is Lynn going to take us to Penn State with him if we don't have a job? So, and you have a day or two to think about that. And you talk to your wife. Your wife's asking you, well, what are we going to do? Have you heard anything? Are they keeping you? So it causes unrest, okay, among the coaches, among the players. It's a change. And why a change at this time? If you're going to make a change, you make a change earlier and you come out with a statement knowing exactly why he left, what happened, and so on. And your coaches have an opportunity of discussing this as far as more further or into what the coaching staff changes will be, if there are any. So they have questions answered and so on. But now, what do they feel? How do they feel now? You're going into recruiting. Are you going to be a part of the staff? Are you not going to be a part of the staff? Is the new defensive coordinator going to want me? Is he going to want to bring his coaches? The athletic director is talking about the defensive coordinator at Texas, and she worked with him at Washington. Is that who really Coach Lincoln Riley wants? Or are they just saying this is who's going to be your defensive coordinator? Now, me, if I'm the head football coach at USC, and I'm told who my defensive coordinator is going to be, I'm going to say, let's do each other both a favor. Why don't you just fire me, and I'll go down the street, and you coach the team. because I want people responsible to me, not to you as an athletic director or anybody else, Bowden. They work for me as a head football coach. So I don't know what's going on there as far as in the hiring. I don't know what happened as far as the did they fire Lynn? Did Lynn finally have enough and said, I'm out the door, goodbye? Nothing's been said. Nothing's been said. So I really don't know what to say about it, except it was really handled poorly.
It's a really weird situation. That's not something you needed heading into the game. If your defensive coordinator is going to leave, that's fine. But that he would address the media and not talk about potentially other jobs, and then right before the game, not call the plays. It was messy. And we'll try to find out more of what was going on there. But, USC needs to find a new defensive coordinator. The portal's open. We're going to talk about that in a minute because we got a lot of stuff to get to. And a lot of people in the chat. We're live on YouTube, by the way. Coach, I don't even told you. We're live. We got people on YouTube checking in, so we got some comments and stuff. Mark, a lot of people talk about Henny, defensive coordinator being Eric Henderson, who ended up calling the plays. There's people talking about get Matt Entz, who was USC's linebacker coach in 2024. Now, he's a head coach at Fresno State, had a good season. I don't think you're going to leave Fresno State to be there. We have talks about Coach Orgeron. And then I don't know if you saw this morning, Coach, but Pete Carroll was fired from the Raiders. They're like, hey, bring in Pete Carroll as a defensive coordinator. I don't think that's going to happen either. But the name that everyone was talking about, Coach, was Pete Kwiatkowski from he was at Washington before. He was at Texas now, and people are saying he's off the market. He's not actually. Like, his name came up with Stanford. I talked to some sources last night, and I don't feel this is a done deal. It's something that he could still end up at USC. He was fired by Texas, but felt like he had some really good defenses there, certainly better defenses than USC had. So that's a name that's still out there. It's not a done deal from what I was told. We'll see what happens. But the portal's open, Coach. You kind of need to bring in a defensive coordinator. And, yes, I assume Lincoln Riley's a part of this process. But, you have the general manager. You have the athletic director. I think all three of them are out there. But it's going to be interesting to see where USC goes with this. Thought it would be over by now, and so far USC still hasn't hired somebody.
Well, if I'm a defensive coordinator, the first thing I want to know is Lincoln Riley going to be there in a year or two? I'm not going to move my family to Southern California, and then in a year from now, I got to move again. So the first thing I'm going to do before I come to USC, I'm going to get a 3-year contract, okay? So they're going to pay me for 3 years, and if they're not willing to pay me for 3 years, they're telling me that they don't know if this program's going to be around under the leadership of what it is right now. So I'm not going to move my family. I'm going to go to a place where I have the opportunity of getting a 3-year contract. I'm not going to walk on pins and needles. I'm not going to open up the newspaper like they did today. 3 NFL coaches are gone, and find out from the media that I don't have a job any longer. So I'm going to get a 3-year contract with good pay before I go anywhere. And I think this is a commitment that USC has to make. And I think also it's a commitment that a coach is making on whether we can win or not at USC, because currently the level or standard of what football is at USC is below the national feeling of what it takes to win a national championship. At least it does to me. And you have a number one recruiting class that is coming in, and you certainly don't want to mess that up and then have a lot of those players going into the portal next year if there is a coaching change. So there's a lot of things to consider here. And I think that the university has to make a decision is, where are we headed? What is the bottom line? What are we looking for? I mean, is it the $300 million or $200 million building they're building? Has it made the football program any better? What are we looking for? Players are leaving, players are coming in. And at Bloomington, Indiana, when they continually get the top quarterback, or one of the top quarterbacks this weekend, one of the top defensive ends in the country this weekend, one of the top running backs in the country this year, Bloomington, Indiana is not Beverly Hills, okay? Where our players at USC run around. There's a reason they go there. There's a reason they go there, because what they can receive there at Bloomington, not lobster tail and steak at a restaurant in a recruiting meeting or recruiting weekend, but what I can receive on the field. What my future going to be? Are those great places? Compare those two areas and say, where should I go? And to make a decision that quickly, the Hauser, the quarterback from TCU, supposedly one of the top quarterbacks out there in the portal, I'm going to Indiana. So, those are the things I look at as far as the overall program at USC. What level of competition are they satisfied with? And they've got so many holes in the windows that they better put some new glass in.
All right, we got that's a super chat, Coach, from YouTube. So I don't know if you're familiar, but fans can make little donations to the program if they like what they're seeing. Only Natties at USC gave us $5 and said, "Can you be our defensive coach or defensive coordinator, Coach Hyde? You care about physicality, tackling, and accountability."
Well, I tell you what, that's a real compliment. Thank you. If it was 20 years ago, you wouldn't even have to pay me. What I mean by that, to me, when I grew up, it was an honor to either play at USC or coach at USC, okay? It was something that I think the young people today don't remember how it was. And they say, oh, you don't understand, it's different now. No, it's the same size of the football field. It's the same goal line. It's the same width of the field. It's what you put on the field and how you coach those kids and what they believe in as far as your university and what's necessary to put them in a position where they can win. Instead of worrying about dropping Notre Dame, you got to worry about stopping a play that's, 4th and 20 yards to go, and you allow somebody to make a touchdown. Don't worry about stopping Notre Dame. Just win your bowl game. These are these are the things that I think of. And it would have been a great honor to coach at USC. I never had that opportunity. I came close once as far as being an offensive line coach, but Rod Humanek got the decision there and got the job. But I continue with the tradition of USC. When I was the head coach at Pasadena City College, we had the same colors. Our fight song was the same conquest that USC had, and they used to call us Mini USC. Was we would line up with one student body right and student body left, and my theory was, my man is bigger than your man, my man is uglier than your man, and my man wants to win more than your man. And we'd get it done.
All right, Coach. Good stuff there. I didn't know you were close to getting hired by USC before. That's cool. Yeah. All right, so we got to talk some portal stuff. Just how crazy this is. Like, I put some notes in on my little Google Doc before Coach came on, maybe 15 minutes before, the latest additions and subtractions from the portal. And since I did that, we've had 2 more pieces of news break while this was going on. So some good news. Jide Abasiri, USC defensive lineman, big number 97, certainly looks the part. He's announced that he's re-signing, so he's coming back to USC. So that's some good news. There's still a few players left that we haven't heard either way. But Jide Abasiri is going to be back, Coach. So that's good. But I'll give you a few portal departures that happened recently, and maybe get your thoughts on any of this, Coach. There's a total of 18 players now. It was 17 when I wrote the document. But James Johnson, who you got to see in the UCLA game, I think I have a picture of him somewhere. I do. Where is it? James Johnson, cornerback, but then he had to switch over, played some running back for USC, freshman. He has entered the portal. You also have the tight end, Joey Olson, that's going in the portal. Walker Lyons, another tight end. He's decided he's going to enter the portal. Freshman offensive lineman, Alex Payne, and Devin Tompkins, who, veteran defensive lineman, who's kind of surprising on that one because it felt like he was, he was a good development guy at USC, came in smaller, basketball dude. Got better, and you felt like he'd finish out his career at USC. But those are the latest. I think those are the latest ones I have, Coach, in the portal. Any thoughts on those guys? But James Johnson just happened as we were going, as we started to go live, Coach.
Well, you're going to have some players leave and some players come in. You're going to always have some type of turnover. In some situations, probably it's a relationship that the coaches and players felt it was best that they do leave, that they wouldn't be able to play much at USC. And what is the goal? If you want to stay here and get an educational BA degree here at USC, we'll go along with that. But again, we need a spot on our roster and scholarship. But if you want to move on, we'll help you in every possible way we can for you to find a new home. You never want to have bad blood, but sometimes there is kids that feel they didn't get their chance or whatever. That's always what happens in anything, because they all come in and you've told them they're going to be a star. When you treat them like a star before they get there, and then they don't become a star when they're at your university, you got a problem, because it's never their problem. It's your problem, but you didn't coach them right, or something's wrong, and they didn't get their turns, or it's always that way. So rather than have an unhappy person on your roster, it's better to part and give that player another opportunity somewhere else. I mean, I saw a lot of SC players playing on bowl games this year, and you did the same thing, past players. So they had that opportunity to move on and get some turns and do whatever they had to do. So you're going to have that happen. And again, I don't want a locker room lawyer telling everybody that I'm a jerk and the players are a jerk and the coaches are a jerk. So it's best to have those people move on and find a new home, let's say.
Yeah. So for additions, the one that was from December, the Oklahoma State cornerback, Carrington Pierce. So we've kind of known about that one for a little while. Then there's some more recent ones. The biggest one is another cornerback from Iowa State. So Jontez Williams is one of the top. I think he's the top cornerback listed in the portal, depending on where you're looking at, but certainly one of the top players. I had a source text me, coach, and say some really good things about him. So USC's picking up a good one there. You also have the linebacker from Washington that will be coming in, Devin Bryant. And then I think this was the most recent one, Louisville wide receiver, Terrell Anderson. He's coming out. He caught passes for Miller Moss last year and will be joining the program. So any thoughts on any of those guys, Coach? I know, as far as like Jontez Williams goes, that was, I think USC getting some help at DB. And I think you really want to add players that can, be contributors right away. I think the last couple of years, Coach, USC's added a bunch of guys that were just sort of like there, like a Prince Strawn who's moved on and got paid a bunch of money from USC and didn't do anything. It seems like these guys are going to be more, potential contributors right away.
Well, if you evaluated them properly, you say, can they win in the Big Ten and who they are? I don't want somebody else telling me how good they are. I want to look at it myself and see if they can play and help us win, because it's very important as far as winning and covering these big receivers today. And if they aren't big defensive backs, it's pretty hard to get off a block with a receiver that's 6'3" or 6'4", or a tight end that's blocking you, and still be able to run with them and jump up and knock a pass down where they're making all these one-handed catches and so on. So if they're the type of defensive back that can play at that level, then I said they made the right move. But again, you can't make a mistake on your moves, because you've got a great group of freshmen coming in, and you certainly don't want to mislead them and telling them they're not going to have their opportunity to play. And there's some great players that play that are freshmen. If you give them the opportunity, they'll come along and play. I watched a lot of ball games this year, especially during the playoffs, and they were freshmen playing on the field. So if they could play football, then I want my best players on the field, whether it's offensively or defensively, whatever. So Oklahoma State's program, well, they didn't win a game this year, I don't think, in the conference. So I'd want to probably get out of there also. But the North Texas State coach is coming in there, may do a great job. And if I have the opportunity to go in and making more money at USC, USC is a pretty good program and a pretty big name, I'd probably do the same thing he did. The Iowa State coach, Iowa State situation, coming from, I don't know if you've ever been to Iowa State and what that city looks like, but to go from there to USC and play in the Coliseum and be in Southern California and get a degree, that's a pretty damn good move if I'm a defensive back and I know I can play and play in the Big Ten, okay? And their program has to be rebuilt, and there's a new coach coming in there. So I don't know. And these players that are staying, like you said, the big defensive lineman, I certainly hope he's the type of player I want playing on my defense because, defense hasn't really played to the level that I expected to play. Defense wins championships, and who knows, maybe a complete change on the defensive side of the staff and also personnel might make a difference. So, it's hard for me to say who can play and who can't play because I haven't seen any of these guys. But if I'm looking at players, this is what I'm looking at. I'm talking about bringing a guy into the portal that we can't miss on, okay? This guy is it. Otherwise, I don't want him. I'll play my freshman who's a great athlete that I recruited him for.
Coach, a little correction there for Terrell Anderson.
Okay.
My fault on this one. In the chat they mentioned Anderson went to North Carolina State, not Louisville. So my bad about that. Yeah, he was an NC State guy. Yeah, I don't know. We had it in our tracker as Louisville. I wrote it in there, and that was you can see in his jersey. It's NC State. So
don't worry about it. I don't know who he is. I haven't seen him on film. Okay, I just being honest with you, like I said.
Yeah,
I don't know who.
We got another super chat. Wow, that's all right. We haven't done a lot of Coach Harvey Hyde live. We've more like recorded these on video. But from Based God, the hippo character flips around and does a V sign in his hand with the word victory appeared. Oh, I'm sorry. So this is he gave a super chat for $19.99. Thank you for that. But the system I have, it doesn't allow you to do emojis. So it was he was describing the emoji on that. So I'm sorry I couldn't really put it up on the screen. I can't show the emoji, but thank you for putting that up there. I can look on the live stream. Yeah. So it's like it's a funny like hippo character, and he does a victory sign. So thank you for sending the super chat, but it doesn't show up on this one. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. So it's a funny GIF there. So thank you for the super chat and putting that up there. Okay, that's all the topics I had, Coach. We got some questions and stuff. Let's take a little break, and we'll come back and answer some questions. Back in a minute, everyone. All righty, we're back here on the Peristyle Podcast. We are live on YouTube chatting with the coach, Harvey Hyde. And thanks to everyone that's been tuning in. If you're live with us, that's fun. We haven't done a lot of these live with the coach. We like recording them, getting on video and doing all that. But we got some questions in the chat. If you do have a question in the chat, let me know. I've starred a couple, and we'll get to those. We got a couple of voicemails. Do you have something, Coach? Or
yeah, I want to just mention something. Okay.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
And I know you don't like me talking about UCLA. Okay.
No, you can.
But good. But I want to talk about UCLA. You get a new coach over there, Bob Chesney.
Yeah.
He coaches in a playoff game. I thought the team really played well against Oregon. Okay, I really did. They could have quit. They didn't quit. They came back and played their ass off. In the second half, it made it, somewhat reasonable. What was it, 51-34 or something like that? Then Oregon goes and shuts out Texas Tech. So you come with somewhat of a positive attitude to UCLA. The first thing you want to do is put together a staff that's the type of staff that understands what's in Southern California. And I'm coming from Virginia, James Madison. I don't know a coach here in Southern California hardly. And I've got to put together a staff and bring my coordinators, my offensive coordinator, my defensive coordinator. And I've also got to bring my special teams coach because I don't want to come in here and reteach what I've won with. I want to bring in a staff that I can from James Madison. So we won there. We can win here with the same type of offense. And then I want to pick up pieces that are great recruiters who have Southern California ties. So that when we get on the 210 freeway, they know where they're going, or the 605, or the 405, or the 71, whatever. They know where it's headed. So he brings in a coach from New Mexico, a receiver coach that played at San Diego State, so he has a lot of ties here in the West. He brings a co-defensive coordinator from Cal down to coach the outside linebackers, who's a hell of a coach. He brings a defensive line coach from Michigan out here who has ties here in Southern California. They're both American Samoans, the last two. So he's made sure he's got that area taken care of. And then he brings out the rest of the coaches that have been part of his staff, keeps two of the coaches that were at UCLA that he felt were good coaches to continue with morale with the players and so on, and have a direct contact with them and other people in the administration at UCLA, which he gave some thought about what I need to do to win in Southern California. And I've got to get Southern California people, yet recruit the areas I know. He then makes himself available to the media. And at the Rose Bowl game, he's in the press box, walking around, shaking people's hands, introducing himself to people, who he is, thank you, I'm who I am, with a friendly smile on his face, letting people know where it's hard not to cheer for him. Well, on the other side, hell, I can't get 5 minutes with Coach Lincoln Riley or his staff or who he brought in from all over the world, as far as from different areas, and didn't recruit this area for 3 years. And this year he recruited it, and by God, he had the #1 recruiting class in the country. That's, I guess, a first that USC has had. So those are the things that bother me. And this morning, I wanted to try something, because I've said this all along on other podcasts and broadcasts I do. When I was at UNLV, I wanted somebody always answering the phone in the football office. Good morning. Rebel football, how can I help you? I hope you've had a great day, or morning. And then they help you. It's not like hit this and hit that and do this and do that, or we'll get back to you or whatever. And we made sure we got our calls through. And the first thing that happened, when the person called, even if they were mad, you made them feel better because you're answering the phone trying to answer their questions. You're not going to try to make it worse on them. So I remember telling two secretaries I had in the office that I never want you out of the office, both at the same time. You don't go to lunch together at the same time. Everybody answers the phone when people call. And one day when I called, I was in an airport and I needed a change of my plane, which was delayed. Nobody answered the phone, and I went to this damn answering machine. Well, I went ballistic, okay? And when I got back, I called them both in my office and told them I'm getting rid of both of you. I told you time after time how important it is for us to have a relationship with the people who call the football office, where they cried and that and so on. So I gave him another chance. It never happened again. So I wanted to try this morning again, and I want people to try this and see if I'm right. I call USC's athletic director's office or the athletic department office at USC. The telephone number is 213-740-3843. That's 213-740-3843. See what it says, okay? It's Jen Cohen's office in the regular athletic department office. It says, no one can answer your call right now. Leave a message and we'll get back to you. Now, that's been there as long as I can remember since they've been there. Now, how do you think that sets over for a guy that's a parent, or you want to get a guest, or you want to talk to somebody where you don't have their direct line? Why can't it start with USC Athletics and play the song Conquest? We'll be right back. We're sorry we missed your call. And blah, blah, blah. Or why can't you have somebody, when you have a $242 million budget, have somebody answer those phones and be courteous to people? Now, if you want to try that number, Ryan, dial that number. And tell me if I'm lying or not lying. Or pick up your cell phone and call it.
All right. I think I'm good with that.
No, but let me ask you, is that the way? Now, I'm ripping on him. You know why?
Yeah.
There's no excuse for this. There's no excuse for this.
This is a very random ripping, just like out of the blue.
Well, it just comes around once in a while.
Yeah.
Right. But these are the little things that make a difference in a football program or any athletic director program, okay? Yeah. It's not the building. That's just a cement structure, okay? It's the personality and the caringness that you give to your people.
Yeah, I think you can. I think people in the athletic department are very approachable. I agree with you. Lincoln Riley is not very approachable, so I think that's a tough one. I'd like to see him get out there with the people more. And
they're approachable for you, but they're not approachable for others, and me and others. They're not. You are a guru there, okay? Let's just face it.
I don't know about that, but
well, whatever, okay? and I'm proud of you because you are, and you do a lot of great things for them. I keep telling you, you're going to lose your credentials having me on this.
No, it's
but good. People want to hear it the way it is, and if they want to call that number and see if I'm wrong, do it. You've got to be able to communicate with whoever it is, a season ticket holder, a parent, a salesman, anybody.
Well, I got to give a shout out before we get into the questions, Coach, but I'll give you your little rant there and the good stuff. I just want to, so based God 333, a Sooner fan sent us a super chat. So I just want to shout out to him. Thank you so much. When Lincoln Riley first got hired, we had a lot of upset Sooner fans coming into the chats and everything, but he's been great. So I really appreciate the super chat, and thanks. And I've known a lot of people that have covered Oklahoma over the years, and a lot of great ones. There was definitely some ill will when Lincoln Riley left, but there's been a lot of great Sooner fans too that we've talked to, and that's one of them. So thank you for that. Let's go to a voicemail. Start us off.
This is Don from Chicago for Coach Hyde. Well, Coach, another humiliation, embarrassment, unbelievable loss. And it should tell you everything you need to know about Lincoln Riley, frankly. Yes, the kids played hard. They played tough. But when it counted in the final play, they gave up. At least 4 players missed tackles, gave up on the play, and we lost the game once again. I mean, we should just hit the repeat button over and over again. And this is not on the players, Coach. This is on Lincoln Riley. It should be clear to everybody by now, he is not the answer. Coach, what do you think? Don from Chicago.
Don, not happy, as usual.
No, not happy. But I think he has a right. He's got his feelings that he can, tell people. And I know there's a lot of people that right now will be texting you or answering the questions I do, or that I'm saying that they don't agree with me, but it's just my opinion. I've been around football for a long period of time, and football doesn't change. It's like I said earlier, it's on the same size field every year. They're 18-year-old kids playing the game of football, and there's ways of running a program, and there are ways of not running a program. And like I said earlier, if you take a look at the games that were played this past weekend in college football, look at the talent, look at the way it was utilized, watch the coaching, and make your own decisions. So it's just they got a ways to go. Let me put it to you that way. They got a ways to go to bring it back to where it was. And a lot of people that are there now did not know the way it was and the way it should be because they were little kids then. And they didn't know exactly what was going on. But it's been a long time, okay, since they've had the type of dynasty that they had at USC.
We had an email from Scott in Los Angeles. He said, Coach Hyde, what is the fundamental issue with how USC trains year after year that they miss tackles? Is teaching kids how to wrap up too basic or beneath them? So many of these kids seem to need a remedial football 101 so they can unlearn the bump and bring somebody down. Scott in L.A.
Well, I'm going to tell you what. When you watched Indiana play, they didn't tackle. They hurt you. You didn't run the ball. You didn't want to catch the ball. You didn't want to do anything. They hurt you. And I would want to have somebody maybe that be a great defensive coordinator from Indiana or somebody like that they don't miss tackles. I'm not going to say Alabama because they didn't play their best. But Indiana will teach you how to play the game of football. Run the football, smack you, wear you down in the third quarter, and then beat you to death. And at the end of the game, Alabama, with its tradition, I don't want to say quit, but they didn't want anymore, okay? They didn't want anymore. And on the defensive side of the football, when you caught the football, you were hammered. And you didn't miss tackles. If you watch the way they came up or their pursuit angles and everything they did, they were taught right. And I'm not sure how many better athletes he has than USC has. I'm not there because I don't see USC's practice. I don't see how they teach tackling at USC. But you don't teach it by hitting a bag and diving on a cushion. You teach tackling by showing that it isn't going to kill you when you hit somebody right. And you don't have to target them. But you got to put yourself in a position where you can make a tackle, grasp, move your legs, and drive somebody backwards. And you never see that happen. If you saw the pursuit angles on the last play, guys were knocking each other off, and the tackle couldn't be made, and they lost the football game.
We have another voicemail. This one's pretty long, but I'll play it for you since we're just going on rants today, Coach. We love it. Here we go.
Okay. Hey, Ryan, Coach Hyde. It's Franco from the East Coast. So that overtime was a perfect microcosm of the whole Lincoln Riley UXC experience. Coach Hyde, you've been on here for 4 years now talking about we need better play calling and better defensive effort. And what do we get? First and goal to 2, right? Everything's compressed down there, so TCU's lined up all at the line of scrimmage. I think they had 9 guys in the box. Maiev is in shotgun, 5 yards back, hands the ball to Miller a yard behind that. So he's getting the ball standing start at the 8-yard line, boom, right into the line, nothing, no yards. So, second down, to prove that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. They run the same play again. No fullback against a stacked box. TCU blew that play up so badly. I thought they were running a screenplay. The defensive linemen and linebackers got through so quickly. It was a 3-yard loss at the 5. But, I mean, King Miller's momentum brought him all the way backwards to the 10. This is coaching malfeasance to be doing. This goes against the laws, not of football, but just of physics, too. That you're going to put against a stacked box with no fullback, hand the guy the ball with a standing start 8 yards from the goal line. It makes no sense. And, of course, on the defensive end, a sideline run, 35 yards, 4 guys with that chance to tackle the guy, and they can't against the sideline. The sideline is supposed to be your friend, it's the extra defender. So it's just so frustrating. Lanning and Ryan Day, Signetti, Kyle Whittingham now in Michigan, they'll all be watching this tape in the off-season. They're just going to be laughing. And, and then we talk, well, Chad Bowden's going to come in with the number 1 recruiting class and hope for the future. But, Ryan, you've had this analogy many times. You can get the best ingredients in the world, but if it's a bad cook, you're going to get a bad meal. Coach Hyde, he knows this. Lincoln Riley knows this. He knows that he has these flaws. He's not changing them. He's trolling us at this point. That's what the young kids call us. They call it trolling. You know what I call it? Getting kicked in the nuts. We keep on getting kicked in the nuts. So my New Year's resolution for 2026, I'm going to watch USC football next season with a protective plastic cup on because I'm sick and tired of getting kicked in the nuts. But anyway, have a great new year. Enjoy the rest of the playoffs. Take care, guys.
It was a long one, but I thought it'd be good to play it for you, Coach. Any thoughts?
No. Well, we talked about that earlier as far as what he does on the red zone. The red zone has been his big problem all the time. I've talked about being able to go into center for 5 years, all the way back to Graham Hill, when he actually made the statement in a press conference, we don't do that here. Well, I don't know. Seems that everybody else is doing it and having a lot of success with it. Maybe you ought to try it. So, and that's the same thing Lincoln Riley. He doesn't like to go under center. When he goes under center, he doesn't have any confidence in it because he doesn't know it. He didn't play in it. He never had experience in it. So it's difficult for him to do something. So he is doing exactly what he did from the very beginning when he was an offensive coordinator. Nothing has changed as far as what he's trying to do. He's trying to run the ball more often, but he never had any success the entire game. The entire game against TCU running up the middle. The entire game. They had some running success in the outside. They had some from the outside, but nothing up the middle. So, we talked about that earlier. You got to run your big guy. You're afraid to run your quarterback. I don't understand why you're afraid to run your quarterback at USC. Your quarterback is your second running back in the backfield today. If you watched all those players play this weekend in the playoffs, their quarterbacks all were athletic and they let them run the football. Why won't you let your quarterback become an athlete and run the quarterback? I don't understand why they take half of their offense away.
Yeah, Coach, that was a weird one, especially in the Notre Dame game. I thought that could really help things. We got some questions on from chat as well. I'm going to put some of these up here. Oh, I'm sorry, that was the wrong one. But El Gordo Flacco said some people like getting kicked down there. So if you're going to wear your protective cup next season, that was an interesting call. Smooth Jazz, Coach, should Hussan Longstreet have gotten at least a few reps in this essentially exhibition game? Seems like coaching malpractice not to give him at least a few reps to sharpen his game and show off. What do you think, Coach? Should he have played in the bowl game?
I don't know. I think you got to try to win every game you can, okay?
Yeah.
And I don't know if they had a position there where they want to bring a backup guy in. I used to tell them nobody substitutes till I tell you can. Because I've been in situations when I had 20-7, and we're holding on at the end, barely winning the game or losing the game. Because everybody wants to get in there and play their backups and this and that. Where that score can change in a hurry, okay? Onside kicks and field goal kickers kicking the ball from 50 to 60 yards now in field goals. So you got to be very careful. The arms of quarterbacks throwing the football, deep passes and so on, getting the onside kick. Hey, you got to be very careful. Myself, I wish you could play him more to give him experience. The reason why I'd want to play him more is to see if he can play.
Yeah.
No one's really demonstrated to me that he can play on this level. Yeah, he was a great player in high school, but that didn't mean if Javin was to come out that he's going to be my starter next year and you're afraid to bring in anybody, but you'll know he'll leave. But how do you know he can play? What if he goes down? But what if he goes down? Do you have a guy that you can win with, or you're going to go through a season against Oregon and Ohio State and these people with a guy that's never played? So I don't know. I'd almost be in the position where I'd bring me the top player in the country, ask him to sit out and be a backup if I could, because I can't put myself in that position that if my quarterback gets hurt, I have nobody to replace him because I don't know. I don't really know.
Yeah. I think in this situation, Smooth Jazz, like, you're trying to win the game. There wasn't really an opportunity for him to get in there. So I have no problem with him not playing in that one. We got another super chat. West Texas Mike came in, Coach. He's really happy to see that he was live. We were live with you. He says, recently came across Quarterback Unfiltered with Keith Simmons. He critiqued USC's performances against Notre Dame and Oregon. Boy, would he and Coach Hyde have a lot to talk about. Not familiar with the work, but I don't know if you are, Coach, but apparently you two have a lot in common.
Well, so tell me again now what he wants me to tell him.
Oh, no. So there was another analyst who analyzed the USC, Notre Dame, and Oregon games, and he felt that you guys would get along. Yeah, I'm not familiar with his work.
We probably would get along because if he thinks like I do, I think that, you got to recruit and play to your toughest team. I used to say, we played Washington State, we played Wisconsin. We played all these teams, and I used to tell my athletic director, I'll play one of them a year. And he would say, well, okay. And I'd say, because I want to know how far we are away from beating one of these teams. I want to know how good we are, and I want my administration and my fans to know just exactly where we have to go to play at that level.
Yeah.
I couldn't be intimidated. I had to play them, and I got my players to play at that level. We beat Washington State. We beat Oregon State. because you got to be able to find out at the level you're playing at what you need to do to win a national championship or to win a Big Ten and whatever. And you've got to be able to gauge that with your scheduling. And you can't be intimidated as far as who you play, because you need to be able to play that same schedule everybody else is playing every other year, or whatever the year is, you're going to have a tough schedule.
Yeah.
So, that's just the way I feel on it. And I think that's what you got to feel. I don't know. I'm still, don't feel good about the dropping of Notre Dame.
Thanks to West Texas Mike for the super chat. Appreciate that. We had another question. This is about Alani Noah. Platana75. What's up with Alani Noah? So USC's guard didn't make the trip to San Antonio, and we haven't got exact reason why. Doesn't bode well for, his future with the team if you're not making the bowl game. So we'll try to find out what's going on with that. I don't know if you heard anything more, Coach, but
no,
yeah, he was not there. So that was a little disappointing to see. And another, different configuration for USC's offensive line that had to do a lot of that this year. Here's another question from the chat. TR Glitz Music. Who is the best available defensive coordinator out there, and who are we targeting? I heard Jim Leonard and Al Golden are the top two DCs we want. Is this true or just another rumor? I think Pete Kwiatkowski would be the top candidate. We've heard Gary Patterson's name thrown out there. Jim Leonard, I forget where he's working now, but he was a hot name a couple years ago when he was at Wisconsin. Al Golden went from Notre Dame to the NFL with the Bengals. I think they're keeping Zach Taylor there, if I'm not mistaken. There's been some NFL firings today. I'm sorry if I'm not up to speed on all of those. And Gary Patterson's name's out there. I don't know. Have you heard any names, Coach, or any thoughts on who the next defensive coordinator should be?
Same names you have heard. Same names. I don't know who's making the decision or whatever, but you're in a position where I think we talked about it earlier. To talk to a defensive coordinator, you got to have some type of security, and you got to pay guys today. And are they willing to pay guys today as far as in that type of situation, or give them a 3-year contract? So guys are in demand, and we'll just see what happens. I have no idea. I don't have one idea.
USC has been willing to pay. That's one thing they're doing. I mean, they paid D'Anton Lynn a lot of money to be the DC there. So I don't know if they'll continue to do that, but so far they've shown that they can open up the pocketbooks per se, and pay guys. Fight on Natty's question, Coach. Do you think Lincoln is just determined and being stubborn that he wants to prove his soft way works, and that way he gets to thumb his nose at everyone that doubted him?
I don't know if he's stubborn or not. I just don't think he knows another way of doing it. And he's not willing to relinquish what he's doing. He's always been who he is, what he is, no matter where he is. He doesn't know how to do it any other way with the programs he's been at. And I think he's a little bit stubborn in changing. I think he doesn't want to give up the offensive coordinatorship because everybody calls him a guru. Everybody calls him the guru on the broadcast team and everything else. He must have hired a PR agency or something. But, there's no gurus. It's what you do and how you do it and how your team performs. That's what you're graded on. And there's so many phases of the team and the defense and the offense that aren't functioning properly that I can't say he's a guru. And you've had 3 years or 4 years to do this now. Look what happened in Indiana in 2 years. Hey, if you're Indiana and you could turn that around in 2 years, at USC you should be able to turn it around in 2 years or 3 years. So that hasn't happened. So I can't make that statement as far as what a guru he is, and I think he is stubborn.
We also had a comment, Fight on Natty's. Oh, I'm sorry, this was the wrong one. He said, PK, you're a little late, Abraham. He already got hired by Stanford. He has not been hired by Stanford. The report was he's emerged as a candidate. Like that, unless something happened in the last hour or something that I missed, but it's the report. I think it was from Bruce Feldman and maybe some others. I know Bruce. I've talked to Bruce. He told me it wasn't hired yet. So not a yet. It was just that wasn't a thing. So yes, like it looks like that's certainly a possibility, but unless something happened like very recently while I was live on the show, and I Googled it while I was doing the show, he has not been hired by Stanford yet, but that's just where he emerged. So we had one last email question. This is Doc Troy from Alaska. We love Alaska questions. Happy New Year's, Coach. If Kirk Cignetti and his staff coached this USC team, what would their record have been and why? Thanks. We've had a lot of Cignetti talk, but yeah. So if he had this roster, Coach, what do you think this team would have done?
Well, this year with the schedule USC had, they'd have run all the close games USC lost. They'd out-hit you. They'd out-thought you. They would have, I don't know, played everyone better than what USC played them. He's a very serious person that, what is it? Mendoza said he saw him smile once. So he's into what he does. People respect him for what he does. I think he'd have surrounded himself, I don't know, with better players, maybe not better players, but he certainly would have made sure these players performed, and he put them in a position where they could perform. So I would think, yes, I would think he'd have won 10 games at least. I really believe that, or more, and he'd have played people a lot better.
All right. Well, good stuff. Love it, Coach. It was great. We got a lot of rants in there, got a lot of questions answered, a lot of topics, talked about breaking news, things that were happening, fake news. Yeah, we'll see what goes on there. But yeah, well, maybe by next week, USC will have his defensive coordinator. Probably a lot more portal news has happened, but looking forward to talk to you again, Coach. And thanks so much for coming on. And thanks everyone for joining us, especially the people if you were watching us live. We love that. That's great.
Thank you very much, Ryan, and thank you all you listeners and viewers that are checking in with us. And remember, it's just our opinion. If you want to catch my show on Sunday mornings on AM 830, which is in Southern California, please do so. And Chuck Hayes and I do that, and we thank you for being a part of all the activities we do. And just follow me at Coach Harvey Hyde, and you know who I am all the time.
Yeah, all the socials, at Coach Harvey Hyde, or his website, HarveyHyde.com. But that's the Coach. I am Ryan. Hope you guys all enjoyed the show. Have a happy New Year, everyone, and we will talk to you next time.